Thank you for joining me today. My name is Nystrom. I'm the head of mobile engineering here at GitHub. And I'm going to take you through a deep dive of GitHub for mobile. So before I get started, I want to go through a quick agenda, some of the things that we're going to talk about. We've got about 30, 40 minutes. I'm going to start off explaining a little bit about what GitHub for mobile is, where it came from, and why we decided to build this now. I'm going to walk through a bunch of the problems that GitHub for mobile solves, and probably what is most exciting, run through a bunch of features and demos for you. And lastly, I'll end on a bit of a roadmap, talk about where we are today and where we see this app going in the short and long term. And then I think we'll have a few minutes at the end for some Q&A as well. So for starters, let's recap what we announced at the keynote this morning. We are launching fully native apps for Android, iPhone, and iPad. These new apps will help you triage, collaborate, and organize your work on GitHub. We announced an iOS beta starting today at github.com/mobile, and we have an Android beta coming very soon. So let's take a little bit of a step back and talk a bit about why now. GitHub's been around for more than a decade. We've dabbled in some other mobile apps before, but now we're making this huge effort. So why now? Why do we want to launch these apps? When GitHub started, it was based around one thing, and that was Git. Git was kind of a hard-to-use tool. If you saw Neha's presentation this morning, I was the same way with like the little post-it note on my laptop trying to figure out what all of these commands meant. GitHub made that simple. Over time, GitHub has grown and added things like issues, pull requests, code search, notifications, and tons more stuff, including GitHub Actions. So many things. There's been one thing in common, and that's to use any of this stuff, you've needed a computer. And that's what GitHub for mobile is here to solve. These apps give you a connection into all of your work on GitHub. As an engineer, I like to look at our app almost like we're SSHing into a really powerful machine. So we wanted to solve three problems. The first one, and probably the most obvious, is how do you take GitHub to go? GitHub, like I was explaining, is a huge platform with tons of stuff. We didn't want to just try and squish all of those features into your tiny screen. But at the same time, we wanted to build something that was new, designed and engineered specifically for mobile, yet is familiar to the people that have been using GitHub for 11 years. We also want to help you stay better organized. We all use our phones for messaging, email, tracking to-do lists. We're also used to having the most important stuff pushed straight to our But there we go. We want to make sure we want to help you stay in the loop with your work on GitHub. And the last one, which isn't necessarily a problem today, but is more a problem introduced by adding a new platform to GitHub. And that's how do we fit your workflow? With over 40 million developers using GitHub across the world, we have a lot of options with hardware, software, environment, configurations, not to mention all of the accessibility needs that some of us have. How do we make sure everyone has access to GitHub for mobile wherever they are? Let's drill into the first problem area and talk about how we took GitHub to go. Like I said, there are so many things that you can do on GitHub. What we decided as a design and engineering team is to focus on giving you quick access to your work. We also know that a core part of GitHub is collaborating with your peers. We want to make sure that you can hand off from your browser to your phone seamlessly, almost picking back up on your work wherever you are. So for quick access, we've done a few things. On the home screen, you'll notice this top section called My Work. Here we have issues and pull requests. These will be things that you were assigned to, you created, even pull requests where someone's requested your review. Beneath that will be your top repositories that you interact with and contribute to. And at the very bottom are organizations that you belong to. This way, you can just open the app and tap into stuff. Below that is the favorite section that I talked about this morning. Here, you can search for all repositories on GitHub and simply pin them to your home screen. For those that contribute to a ton of repositories, this gives you access to the most important ones. And then at the very bottom is your recent activity, issues and pull requests that you created and commented on. I've been using this personally. Whenever I create a pull request on my computer and take the dogs on a walk, I can pull my phone out and I'll see that pull request listed here at the top. I can open it and see my CI status, comments, or if any of my teammates have given me a review. But that's getting to some of your work from inside the app. What if somebody's asking for your attention outside the app? We also added universal links so that whenever you tap on a link for GitHub, it'll open straight into the app and navigate to that content. At the top of the home screen is a plus button. You can tap this plus button. It'll open a new issue creation flow where you can add a title, description, select a repository, any one on GitHub, and then save the issue. I think that my team will vouch for me that I use this constantly. Whenever I see bugs or I have feature ideas in the app, I am pulling the app out, filing a quick issue, and then putting it away. This, to me, has replaced the need to track all of my ideas in a separate app, and then later, when I'm back on my computer, file them all as issues. I can kind of cut out the middleman. If you're not exactly sure where to find something, we also included global search for all of GitHub. Here you can search people, repositories, orgs, even the issue and pull request. It'll show up in these mixed results. Once you've found what you're looking for, we have native views for all of these surfaces. Here we're looking at a user profile, and you can even tap into more things in this profile. At the top, there's metadata about who they are, what they do, where they are. But you can also see this user's pinned repositories and tap into some of their lists, like items that they've starred. Also, I want to call out the follow button, which is really great, so I can keep in touch with all the people that I want to follow. Repositories also have native views. You can scroll to the bottom, read their README, browse issues, pull requests, search for things. You can even browse through all of a repository's code with this gorgeous syntax highlighting on the right. Now, if you're like me, you spend a lot of time reading through issues and pull requests. So we put a bunch of effort into making this view awesome. All of the Markdown, like I mentioned this morning, is rendered natively. At the top, there's metadata about the status of the issue or pull request, as well as a timeline below, comments, reviews, and other activity. If you need to know more about the issue or pull request, you can swipe up from the bottom, and we have this cool card where you can see the labels and more. You can also leave comments. At the bottom of the comment bar, we also have Markdown Helpers, which include image uploading. Once again, I think the team will vouch for me. This is how I leave bug reports. I take screenshots of the app or something else that I'm seeing, annotate the screenshot, and can upload everything straight from my phone. If you have permission to edit the issue or pull requests, on this sheet will be edit buttons. Here you can assign, review, add projects, and more. We also have files changed for pull requests. If you want to see the diff for everything in the pull request, you can browse here, see deletions, insertions, and changes. Once again, with syntax highlighting, I'm a huge fan. There it is. And when you want to leave a review on a pull request, you can do that too. You can swipe up from the bottom, leave a comment, approve, or request changes. Our team has branch protections enabled, which means that we can't merge anything into master without an approval on our pull request. The great thing about the app is when somebody is in need of merging a pull request, maybe for a critical bug or some last-minute changes. And I'll tell you, in the last month or so, we've had a lot of those. We've had to merge all of these things in. And if my teammate is waiting for somebody to be at a desk before they can approve, it slows the entire team down. Now we can get a hold of each other and unblock our peers from our phone. And then we also have our merge status, CI, approvals, and more. And then the button at the bottom allows you to merge straight from the app. I mentioned this morning that I felt like this gave me superpowers. And that's because you can start your CI or CD from anywhere in the world. Now, I want to tell you a story about us building this app where this became really apparent. And we have our entire app backed by GitHub Actions, not just for CD, or not just for CI for running our tests, but also for CD. So when the tests pass, we can deploy and distribute new versions of our app. And there was a moment when we first added this merge button where I tapped it, and about 30 minutes later, while I'm out running errands, I get an alert on my phone that I have a new build ready to install, which I did and could immediately start playing with it and testing new features. I was nowhere near my desk. The next area is helping you stay better organized. A lot of us get a ton of GitHub notifications. If you're like me, you get so many that it almost gives you this sense of dread when you get back to your computer that you don't want to filter through them. There have been a lot of times I've been out just knowing I'm going to have dozens of notifications that I need to filter through before I can actually start working. We worked with the notifications team here at GitHub to bring the new notifications experience to .com, iOS, and Android. You'll see familiar features from the original version of notifications refreshed, things like saved, but you'll also find brand new features, and I'm going to walk through some of them. Save is a feature that existed on the original version of notifications. While it was useful, where this really shines is with mobile. Say you get a notification for something that you know is going to take at least an hour or more for you to dig through. Instead of trying to do all of this work from your phone, you can simply swipe to save the notification, and when you get back to your computer and have a little bit more time, it's there ready for you. Now, we've also been listening to a lot of your feedback about the state of notifications. I've developed this really nasty habit where I will leave a notification unread and not open it because I'm afraid that once I've marked it unread, it'll disappear from me forever. We've listened to your feedback, and we created something new, and that's this feature called Done. Instead of leaving notifications unread, you can instead read them, and they won't disappear anymore. And when you're done with a notification, you can simply swipe it away. Now it's even easier to use GitHub notifications almost as a to-do list and finally reach inbox zero. And speaking of inbox zero, we partnered with the illustration team here at GitHub to create these gorgeous inbox zero states that really encourage me to leave my inbox empty. When you want to filter your notifications, say you have too many, you can open up the filters tray. We've got filters for save, filters for done, like the things we just looked at. We also have filters by repository, which existed in the original version of notifications. But this new one is custom filters. On .com, you can create custom filters for your needs, for your team, for mentions, per repository, and more. All of those custom filters are available to you on the app. And the other thing we announced this morning was push notifications. We'll send you a push notification anytime someone mentions you in an issue, pull request, or comment. When we started adding push notifications, it became completely apparent that if we sent you an alert for every single type of event on GitHub, your phone would be dinging and buzzing like crazy. And that completely dilutes the value of adding these features. So instead, we will only send you a notification for a mention. You can tap right on the notification and it'll navigate you into what the notification is from. Then you can let somebody know that you've seen it. The last problem area I talked about was how do we fit GitHub for mobile to your workflow? Those of us with phones have so many options for hardware, software, operating systems, versions, screen sizes, and more. And then we can set up our phones for our needs. I want to walk through how we made this app work for basically everyone. And I want to start off with the iPad version of the app. Now, like I said in the keynote, we didn't just blow things up, but we created a bunch of custom elements for the app. One of the ones I want to demo here for you, if you recall back to the slide where I swiped up and was looking at reviewers, assignees, labels, and walked through the commenting flow, instead of stretching that bar across the entire screen, when you're on an iPad, we'll dock this to the bottom right. You can still swipe up on this card to expose it and view all of the information like before. And when you tap on comment, it enters a commenting mode. But say you don't totally remember what you were looking at. Maybe you want to go back and copy your text. You can swipe down to minimize this comment, copy something, navigate away, and then simply swipe back up on the comment sheet, continue your comment, paste, and do whatever you need to do. Then simply tap send, and it'll post your comment. We also added tons of keyboard shortcuts. Most of the same keyboard shortcuts you would find on github.com will exist on your iPad. And instead of using the arrow keys, we give you Vim controls like J and K so that you can navigate around your inbox. In addition to building iPad, we've also added accessibility features. For those that need to use the app with things like screen readers, brightness settings, text sizes, and more, the app is totally accessible. In this demo, we're walking through the app using a screen reader. And there's no audio, but the voice is reading out all of the elements, and you can double tap to navigate. And then for the night owls out there, we also announced this morning dark mode. Now, I think our dark mode experience is awesome. It follows operating system settings or your own custom overrides. We went through every single screen of our app and made sure that it was designed specifically for dark mode. And if I haven't raved enough about having syntax highlighting in the app, we also built a dark mode specific syntax highlighting theme for GitHub for mobile. And we worked with our design team to create a color system for the entire app. We support light, dark mode, as well as high and low contrast modes if you need a little bit more brightness to see. And we didn't just invert our color palette for dark mode. We actually created a semantic color system for things like text, actions, buttons, even background elevation. Our design team also created an entirely new icon set based off of GitHub's original octagons and totally vectorized for mobile. They look amazing. And we also announced this morning that the iOS beta is available starting today. So again, can head over to github.com/mobile and sign up. You'll get an email invite when your sign up is ready with installations on how to install. So a little bit more about our roadmap. We have the iPhone and iPad beta available today. The Android team is hard at work getting close to an Android beta that'll be coming very soon. And we'll be reaching general availability for both apps launching together early 2020. But what about beyond that? We want to make sure our app stays extremely focused. We want to drill even deeper on our current feature set. We want to make sure notifications become even more powerful. We understand that notifications can sometimes be a nuisance, and we want to give you tools and controls to take breaks or silence notifications during the weekend. We also want to go deeper on code review. When we started this app, We told ourselves there's no way we ever want to write code or go line by line. But now that we have the app in our hands and are using it every single day, we want absolutely more power and more control to give better reviews to our peers. So that's GitHub for mobile. I'm excited to see how taking GitHub to Go will help you stay better connected to your work, and I'm really looking forward to your feedback. Thank you. And I think we have a microphone running around, so if there are any questions, I am happy to take them.
Would the mobile app also support GitHub Enterprise?
The mobile app does not work with GitHub Enterprise yet. We are exploring how to make that possible. It will work with GitHub Enterprise Cloud, but on-premises is being explored. A couple over here.
Hey, maybe it was shown, but do GitHub Actions show up in the mobile, and can you interact with them if they're in there?
When you're looking at the merge status of a pull request, you will see the results of all your runs. So you can see your GitHub Actions, and if you have your own CI or CD runs, the status, the pending, success, failure will all show up there, and you can tap on them to jump into details. One up in the front.
Hi, I noticed that there was accessibility up there. Is there anything in particular that the team is proud of when it comes to accessibility built in?
Yeah, there are a number of features. So the one that I demoed on stage is VoiceOver, which if you haven't used it, is a way for anybody with a visual impairment to actually total blindness to still be able to use a phone. So we made sure that the app is compatible with VoiceOver and you can still navigate without actually seeing what you're looking at and just following the audio instructions. We also have color inversion support. So if you need to invert the colors, you can. Text sizes, dynamic text sizes. And honestly, I would include dark mode as one of our accessibility settings. While it's kind of a nice feature and it's different and it looks pretty, there are those that need that the bright lights of their phone puts too much strain on their eyes. And so we're also very, very proud of that.
Thank you.
Do you envision the app having a fully featured IDE-based capability so that you can actually clone and actually make commits?
We are really interested in exploring having an IDE in the app. At the moment, though, we don't have any code editing features. We wanted to start really focused and making this an amazing collaborative app, as well as a consumption app so that you can read issues and pull requests. And we want to start with some of the important actions that don't require you constantly being on your phone. So merging and commenting and those sort of things.
Are there plans to bring support for repository and organization administration into the app?
Oh, that is a great question. Absolutely. We will be bringing administration controls for orgs and repos. Absolutely. We wanted to start with issues and pull requests so that you could do things like assignees and labels, which is more on the triage space, but you can also close, lock, and those sort of things with issues. But yes, it is on our roadmap to add more repo and org admin.
Thank you.
One in the back.
I saw that you can comment generally, but can you also leave line-by-line comments in the code in code view?
Yeah, so that's one of the things I mentioned in our what's next. At the moment, in the beta today, you can do just a single comment and approve request comments, comment or request changes. But we actually are going to make sure that we have line-by-line commenting available before we launch to the entire public.
Hi. Quick question. How much of the information that the app uses is contained within the phone versus the relying on the connection to the cloud?
That's a great question. Majority of the information that the app is using is from github.com. And that is honestly mostly a security feature. We want to make sure that all of the information, all of the code and everything is living on GitHub and the app is communicating securely with GitHub before we're like pulling files onto your system quite yet.
What about integrating with the phone's mobile payment system?
Can you expand on that a little more?
So like GitHub sponsors or paying for your subscription, for example.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's something on our minds, but we don't have plans for GitHub sponsors or other kind of like payment OS integration yet.
Do you have an easy way to type out code in the comments? So the tilde to say this is monospace versus another one.
We do. There's on the Markdown shortcut bar, there's a shortcut so that if you select a bunch of text, you can either do like a single line wrap. We also have code block quick actions.
Does it support SSO, and would I be able to manage my devices?
It does support SSO. I'm speaking from experience because GitHub uses SSO, and we've been using the app to build the app. Was there a second part? Could you repeat the second part?
Would I be able to manage all my mobile devices in admin panel and like deregister if I get a new phone, for example?
You can. So the app will upgrade just fine if you're restoring from a backup. The app is also an OAuth app, and so if you ever had you lost your phone or had security concerns, you can revoke your OAuth token from a completely different device and remove access for that app.
Are there any plans to open source the app or its components?
Good question. We don't have any firm plans to open source the app yet, but it is on our minds.
Hi, can you configure the app to send more push notifications than just mentions?
Absolutely. Yeah, we wanted to be really careful when we started with push notifications. But not only is adding more granular controls around schedule, do not disturb, and those sort of things, we do want to look into other sort of push notification events. So things that might be really important to you, for instance, security events, new pull requests from particular teammates, and more.
Hi, I was wondering if you guys have a document viewer like PDFs and CSVs on the app?
We do not yet. We're rendering images and plain text so far.
What were some of the biggest challenges and how did you guys overcome them?
Some of the biggest challenges, timeline was one of them. We built this app really quickly. This was also a really major change for GitHub. Actually having like a client app. We have the desktop app, but adding a client app that people can have with them on at all times, that's almost able to communicate with GitHub at any point in time, required kind of rethinking how a client would communicate via our API.
Have you been doing any thinking about Catalyst or any like Mac stuff?
So if you aren't familiar with Catalyst, this is a new technology from Apple, which basically lets you take an iPad app, theoretically click a button, and then you can have a Mac app. We've played around with it. It's a lot harder than Apple let on and doesn't totally work yet. It's something that we would love to do to at least be able to use the app a little bit more often for ourselves. It's not totally on the roadmap yet. You know, we have GitHub Desktop, which I think is an amazing GitHub product. So we've played with it. It doesn't totally work as easy as we would like, but that's about that. One up front over here.
So yeah, going off of something you just mentioned, how has the development of this app influenced the GitHub API?
Wow, that's a really good question. So we use the GraphQL API for everything in the app. We've been actually contributing to the GraphQL API, improving things, fixing features, and we'll actually be, I believe there will actually be some GraphQL changes that we end up pushing public that we needed specifically for the app. And I think make the API just better as a whole. Couple over here. The question is the app based on totally public APIs? It is not. Not quite yet. Because we have the app still in a beta stage, we don't want to totally push these things live yet until we make sure the app is stable.
Hi, how do you anticipate GitHub Mobile opening resources in emerging open source countries?
That's a great question. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everybody is able to connect to GitHub from everywhere. There are a ton of Android users on GitHub, and a majority of GitHub's users and contributions come from outside the United States. So we want to make sure the app is working on older Android versions, as well as in low bandwidth environments. I envision this gives a lot more people access to using GitHub. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I will be here at the event if you have more questions. Thank you.